Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something really interesting, kind of a contradiction actually in construction.
Oh yeah.
Custom architecture, but delivered through a simple standardized kit. We're diving into the claims from these custom Cedar home and prefab kit companies, right? The ones promising the whole package. Fast, affordable, beautiful homes, exactly. They say it's a complete building solution. And our job today really is to cut through that. Pretty Cedar siding, get to the hard facts. What are the real competitive advantages of this kit model versus just, well, building a house the old-fashioned way? For you, the listener, think of this as a shortcut. Can these companies truly take the sting out of the big three construction risks? Time, cost, and making sure it's actually built well? Quality assurance, yeah, big deal. And look, if these numbers they're throwing around are real, this could genuinely change how we think about building. We've got 3 huge claims right off the bat. First, up to 33% faster build times. The third Second, the cost claim. This one's also pretty powerful. Up to 25% less expensive than comparable custom builders. Quarter less for a custom home. That's significant. It really is. And the third one, this impacts you every single month after you move in. They claim these homes can mean up to 60% lower energy bills. Wow, 60%. Okay, so if these hold up faster, cheaper to run long term, that is a major shift. Definitely. So let's start by figuring out what exactly you're buying here. What's the actual product? It starts with the architecture itself. Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. So the core product we're talking about, it isn't like a mobile home or some cheap manufactured thing. It's centered around custom Cedar homes, right? And they use this high-end construction method called post and beam. Post and beam. Got it? And the sheer variety is pretty impressive. The sources mention over 500 customizable house plans. That tells you something about the flexibility. It's not just cookie cutter. 500 plans? Yeah, that's definitely not locking you into one look. But maybe for someone listening who hasn't built before, what's the big deal about post and beam? Why is it considered superior? Why not just standard stick framing? It's usually cheaper up front, isn't it? Well, it's all about how the structure shapes the space inside. Standard building, stick framing, relies on lots of internal walls to hold things up, load-bearing walls everywhere. Post and beam, though, uses these big, heavy vertical posts and horizontal beams. So the main structure, the load-bearing part, is handled by the exterior shell and just a few key internal supports. And that's why you get what they call timber frame excellence. You see those beautiful exposed beams? You get these incredible soaring interior spaces. Cathedral ceilings, yeah, really open floor plans. Exactly. Lots of natural light. The strength and, frankly, the beauty of those big timbers allow for that openness. You just can't achieve that easily with standard framing. So the structure itself is a design feature, not just bones you cover with drywall. It sounds amazing, looks elegant, but let's push back a bit. Heavy timber framing sounds, well, expensive. Specialized labor, maybe cranes on site. How does the kit model deal with that potential high cost? That's exactly the point where the system comes in. Structurally, yes, it's top engineered for integrity, can handle extreme weather, even seismic-resistant design features. But the labor component, that's what the kit aims to revolutionize. Okay, we'll get to the numbers on that. But first, just quickly, the range of styles, is it all just rustic cabins? No, not at all. The sources confirm they cover a huge range. Award-winning designs, very modern looks, vacation homes, cottages, sure, log homes if you want that, craftsman style, and these distinctive prow design homes. Prow design, it's actually pretty cool. Think of the prow of a ship, right? The front part that jets out. A proud design home has this sharply angled front, often with tons of glass, like floor chiseling windows, sometimes even a deck that sticks out. It's all designed to just grab a panoramic view. Maximizing the view makes sense, especially for vacation spots. Yeah, it shows they're not just forcing you into a box. You're getting assembly efficiency, but not necessarily sacrificing the architectural vision. Which brings us neatly to theme 2, the value proposition. Let's dig into those metrics. The speed, the savings, how do they back these up? Okay, let's tackle that skilled labor cost issue you raised. That claim of being 33% faster, it's not really about having, lightning fast carpenters on site. It's about shifting where the complex work happens. Instead of doing all the tricky, precise cutting and measuring on a potentially muddy, chaotic building site, they do it in a controlled factory environment. Okay, using this panelized building system they talk about? Exactly. Components, walls, roof sections are precision cut. They're labeled, all prepared indoors. So the crew on site isn't starting from scratch with piles of lumber. They're assembling bigger pre-made pieces, like a giant high-precision puzzle. That's a good way to put it. And that dramatically cuts down on the expensive on-site labor hours. Less waste material, too. And maybe most importantly, fewer delays because of bad weather. You can't frame a house easily in pouring rain or snow. True. The sources suggest a typical on-site construction time of about 4 to 6 months. For a custom home, that's pretty quick compared to traditional methods. It comes back to this idea, standardization reduces risk. And risk always means potential cost overruns. Okay, the speed argument based on panels, that makes sense. I buy that. But let's talk money. The bottom line, up to 25% less expensive than comparable competitors. What is that package price? They quote $150 to $300 per square foot. What does that actually get you? The listener. Because that range sounds like it could be a finished home price, but with kits, it often isn't, right? That is absolutely critical to clarify. You're right to be skeptical there. That $150 to $300 per square foot figure, that typically represents the cost for the complete materials package. The kit itself, yes. The structure, the posts and beams, the walls, the roof system, windows, doors, siding, hardware. Basically everything you need to get the house wet or tight and structurally sound. But crucially, not the land. No land. Not the foundation it sits on. Correct? No plug, no electrical, no interior finishing like drywall or paint or flooring, and not the labor cost to actually put the kit together. Exactly. That price is for the package of materials. It's a major chunk of the cost, but it's not the total turnkey price. Thanks for clearing that up. So, okay, maybe a comparable custom stick-built home might end up costing, say, $450 to $600 per square foot fully finished. The saving here comes from their efficient sourcing of those kit materials and, importantly, that shorter construction window needing less labor time. That's the logic. The efficiency of the kit system is what helps drive down the total project cost, even though the kit materials themselves might seem premium. Got it? And then there are the long-term savings. Let's circle back to that energy efficiency claim. Up to 60% reduction in energy costs? Yeah, that's a huge number. It really is. And that's not just, a nice-to-have feature. We're talking potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars a year. Air every year? That's the difference between stressing about the heating bill versus, having more financial freedom. So what's driving that performance? Is it just the cedar wood? It's a combination. The panelized system itself, because it's factory-made, tends to be much tighter, much better sealed than typical on-site framing. That means fewer drafts, less air leakage. Better insulation performance, though. It's way better insulation performance. Yeah, you can pack more insulation in effectively. Plus, the natural thermal properties of wood, especially thick timbers like cedar, do contribute. Wood is a better insulator than, say, steel studs. The whole goal is an airtight building envelope that stays warm in winter and cool in summer with less effort from your HVAC system. Lower operational costs year after year. Make sense? Now, you mentioned cedar siding earlier. It looks beautiful, but it does need upkeep, right? It does. Staining, sealing, it's a commitment. So here's where it gets interesting for managing the initial budget. If someone wants that energy efficiency, that solid post and beam structure, needs to find some upfront savings, can they skip the cedar siding? Absolutely. And this is a really smart place to look for savings. Potentially big savings. The sources highlight alternatives that are basically made things like fiber, cement siding, like hardy plank. Exactly, that kind of thing. It's incredibly durable, fire resistant, often comes with like a 50-year warranty. Looks great too. Comes in lots of styles. Or you can look at composite materials, even metal siding, for certain modern looks. And the financial impact of choosing one of those instead of cedar, it can be substantial. The sources suggest that going with fiber, cement, or composite options could reduce the total project cost by 15 to 30%. Wow, 15 to 30% just by choosing a different siding. Well, think about it. Siding covers the entire exterior. It's a lot of material and installation labor. So yeah, that choice makes a huge difference. It could easily offset the premium cost of the post and beam structure itself. You get the great bones, the efficiency. But with the lower maintenance, lower cost exterior, that's a really practical way to balance the budget, durability, and affordability long-term too. It shows. They're thinking about the total cost of ownership, which is smart, not just the price tag to get the kit delivered. Okay, let's move to theme 3. This idea of the complete building solution, it sounds great. This promise to remove the stress. I mean, anyone who's renovated or built anything knows the headache of juggling contractors, suppliers, permits. It can be a nightmare. So this system claims to be your, construction therapist. How do they actually pull that off? How do they reduce the chaos? They try to structure the whole experience. Instead of dozens of variables and unknowns, they rely on this 6-step proven building process. And a lot of it seems built around transparency and guarantees. Okay, walk us through the key parts. Maybe skip the super obvious steps like design and focus on the ones that really tackle the stress points. Step 2 is transparent budgeting. That sounds crucial. They mention a no hidden cost promise. Why is that such a big deal in construction? Because hidden costs are almost the norm in traditional builds. Material prices fluctuate, unexpected issues pop up on site, change orders happen, costs can spiral, right? So their fixed price guarantee for the kit package provides some certainty right there. But even more important, especially now with volatile markets, is their price protection guarantee. What does that do? It means when you sign the contract, you lock in the material prices for your kit. So if lumber costs shoot up 3 months later while your plans are in permitting, you are protected from that increase, at least for the kit materials. The company absorbs that risk. Okay, that is huge. That shields you from potentially massive budget blowouts before construction even starts. That alone could save someone's project. It's a major security factor, definitely. Then, once the price is locked and materials are sourced, how do they ensure quality? That's steps 3 and 4. Step 3, materials delivered. Premium kiln-dried cedar, they say, windows, doors, everything needed for the shell. Why is kiln-dried important? Sounds technical. It's actually vital. Kiln-dried means the lumber has been dried in a controlled oven to a specific stable moisture content. Okay, why does that matter? Wood shrinks and can warp or twist as it dries naturally. If you build with green or wet lumber as it dries out in your house structure, gaps can appear, joints can loosen, things can shift. Not good. Right. Kiln-dried lumber is stable. It won't shrink significantly. Essential for a precision cut kit where everything needs to fit together perfectly. It prevents problems down the road. Makes sense? Quality control from the start. Okay, step 4, expert builders. They mentioned a trusted builder network. Is this just a list of local guys they happen to know, or is there more vetting involved? I'm a bit skeptical here. That's a fair question. The key thing seems to be that these are builders who are specifically qualified and experienced with post and beam construction, and ideally with this particular company's system, so they know how the puzzle pieces fit together. They aren't figuring it out for the first time on your dime. Now, the size and quality of that network probably varies by region. That's true. But the sources also suggest that even if you want to use your own builder, the company provides pretty intensive technical support. Detailed manuals like an owner builder manual to guide them. Their goal is for the assembly to go smoothly and quickly, because a botched assembly reflects badly on their kit, so they have a vested interest in making sure whoever builds it does it right. That reduces risk for the homeowner too. It seems like they've really tried to de-risk the most complex phases: the pricing, the materials, and the specialized structural assembly. Okay, so steps 5 and 6 are then about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Permits and warranties? Pretty much. They provide permit-ready plans, which should hopefully streamline the process with your local building department. They offer technical support during that phase too, which can be a huge hurdle. Absolutely. And finally, step 6 is completion and warranty. You're guided by that owner-builder manual, and it's all backed by a comprehensive warranty. They even mention a fixed price and quantity guarantee on the materials, meaning you get exactly the amount of stuff you paid for. No shortages. That seems to be the promise. No unexpected runs back to the lumberyard for missing pieces that should have been in the kit. That whole process sounds pretty buttoned up. And for anyone listening who's dreaming of building somewhere remote, maybe overseas, good point. The sources confirm these custom prefab home packages can be shipped anywhere in the world. They apparently help with the logistics, the international shipping, customs, all that. So building your dream cedar home on a beach in Costa Rica or a mountain in Switzerland, it's actually feasible with this model. It opens up a lot of possibilities location-wise. It really makes the whole world your potential building site. Okay, so the system sounds robust, but what about the end result? Let's look at theme 4, real-world results and the legacy these homes create. Does the experience live up to the promises? The testimonials cited are quite compelling. They go beyond just, it looks nice. People talk about the feeling of living in this space. Like those homeowners in Alberta. Yeah, they said it completely exceeded our expectations, but then added, we didn't anticipate the extraordinary comfort. That speaks volumes about the thermal performance, the quietness, the overall quality, the living environment that comes from that tight, well-built structure. It's not just a shell, it's a comfortable home. Exactly. And then there's the pure architectural wow factor. Like the Michigan homeowner, whose place stands as one of the most architecturally dramatic cottages on the lake. Constant landmark potential. Where the Hawaii owners calling their home charming and magical, these aren't just houses. People clearly see them as special legacy properties. Places with real character. And it seems that character translates into financial value too. There's data suggesting these homes actually appreciate better. Yes? The sources mention that these custom cedar homes typically increase property value by around 15% compared to conventional construction in the same area. 15% higher resale value? That's a significant return on investment right there. It really is. That potential upside, combined with the lower running costs from energy savings and maybe lower maintenance if you choose fiber, cement, it makes this model attractive across different life stages. So, not just for luxury vacation homes. No, they position it broadly, suitable for retirement homes, especially the low maintenance aspect. Vacation properties, yes, good investment potential, but also as primary residences built to last for generations, even potentially as unique starter homes. If the budget works out, okay, so if we boil this whole deep dive down, what's the main takeaway? What's the core insight for someone listening? I think the core insight is that this system seems to successfully blend to things that often feel mutually exclusive. Deep customization and predictable, efficient processes, right? Custom design without the usual chaos and cost blowouts of a one-off bespoke build.
Exactly.
Through smart engineering upfront, the panelized pre-manufacturing, and those fixed guarantees on price and materials, they managed to tackle the biggest anxieties: the timeline, the budget, and finding skilled labor for complex structures like post and beam. It brings high-end architecture within reach in a more controlled way. That control, that de-risking seems key. The structural integrity is built in. The financial risks are mitigated. Okay, that makes sense. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Okay. We've talked about the potential for slightly higher upfront costs for the kit itself compared to basic stick framing, but also significant long-term savings, like up to 60% on energy, and potentially lower maintenance costs, right? So here's the question. If the total cost of financing and owning one of these structurally superior, highly energy efficient, guaranteed homes is actually comparable or maybe even lower over time than a standard code minimum conventional house, are we reaching a point where building a basic, less efficient, shorter lifespan house is actually becoming the financially irresponsible choice? That's a provocative question. Given those potential long-term savings, especially energy, you're essentially choosing how you pay for quality. Do you invest a bit more upfront in a structure designed to perform for decades? Or do you pay potentially less initially, but then keep paying extra month after month, year after year through higher utility bills and maybe more frequent repairs or renovations? Yeah, when you frame it like that, the long-term math definitely deserves a very close look. It really does. Definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.